Good evening and welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Johan, and today we'll be looking at creating a drawing app in Flutter. It's going to be fairly straightforward, not diving into too deep with actual like basic knowledge. We have a series based on how just to create a basic app with the folder structure, as you can see at the left. Folder structure, how to set up your components and everything, so everything works fine. So it's not gonna. I'm not gonna touch that at all. This is also not very educational in a sense. It's just gonna be just a fun project we're gonna quickly build. I'll tell you a bit about why I've decided to create this app, but mainly just for if you guys are looking for a bit more educational, we have a series on Flutter just to create the basic stuff, like API connection, like folder structure, and basic how we do normally would just go through creating a user interface for an app. So yeah, as you can see, I've literally with this app, we have our main. It's based on that skeleton we created for the other app. We have our app, which is pretty much just brings up Canvas view. Within our Canvas folder, we've got two subfolders. We've got widgets, we've got views, and we've got our Canvas view within that. And basically, that's exactly what we're going to be using. I've just created a scaffold, so we get a white background, but pretty much that's all that's been done in this app. We're just going to do everything from scratch, so let me start so you guys can see. So yeah, the reasoning behind this app is I have a tendency to draw little Among Us characters when in meetings and so on the whiteboard, and a few people have complained that 145 Among Us characters is a bit much for the office. So I've decided to build my app. So whenever I'm bored, I can just sketch out something while busy, just on my phone, without bothering anyone. So yeah, that's going to be our main goal today, is to get me to draw a little Among Us character on an app within Flutter. So yeah, that's going to be fairly straightforward. So as you can see, our app's been started up. There's nothing on the screen, which means which is fairly expected. We've got a scaffold, which is the white part, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, so first thing I think we should do is actually get a way for us to interact with the screen. When drawing, you have your finger that touches the screen and it moves across the screen, and the line should follow wherever our input is. So I think that's going to be our main goal, to find a way to actually capture that input. So yeah, as you guys should know by now, there is a widget in Flutter called Gesture Detector, and this does exactly what we need for this situation. It has a lot of properties. As you can see, it's got child, it's got drag start behavior, all those stuff. We're only going to use 3 of them. The first one is going to be on pan update or on pan start, which is on when we press down and start dragging. That's going to call this function. On pan update, I think, is the second one. There we go. And then on pan end, when we end the actual the actual the actual drawing, that's what's going to be called there. So this is going to kind of be the end of our drag. So for instance, if we press down, we're going to call on pan start. If we move, it's going to be on pan update. And if we stop and lift our finger, it's going to be on pan end. So we need to find a way to actually call those 3 items. So yeah, if we start looking at on pan update, what it requires, as you can see, it requires a function, a void function. We don't need to return anything, that has drag start details as the parameter. So let's create a private function on this side. We'll say it's a void because that's what it requires. We'll make it private, and we'll call it on pan start. We'll give it, let's just double check, it's drag start details as the as the function parameter, so it's going to be drag start details. We'll just call it details, and then we'll close up our function. What we can even do is print out, so we actually know what's happening. So you can say print out user has started drawing. There you go. So let's add our function over here because we have the correct parameters in the brackets which is required there. It's an exact copy of the function. We don't need to specify anything. I do discuss this more in detail with our other Flutter course, so feel free to go and watch that. We will link it down below. Secondly, we're going to need an on-pan update. So again, void, because we don't return anything, we'll keep it private. On-pan update, we'll just double check what that requires. I think it's drag details, which is the same. Is it drag update details? Yes. Drag update details. We'll call it details. And with this thing, we can actually return or print down the current screen or the current position of the point. So let's just call it details dot global position. I think that's going to be fine. Next, we should go for the last one when we end. So that's going to be same void on pan end. And I assume if I double check, it's going to be drag end details. So let's add that. Drag end details. Details. Close our brackets. And we can then just print user has stopped drawing. Close our parameters, and then before we forget, let's just assign these two new functions we created. Save our project and see what happens. So we're expecting to see user started drawing, then get a bunch of points on the screen, and then get a function that says user has stopped drawing. So let's quickly see. User has started, user has stopped, I did not move, and there we go. We get a bunch of offsets as my finger moves. User stopped, press down started, bunch of points, user stopped. So yeah, that's fairly simple. There's no magic behind it. The fun part is actually going to be to take these offsets and display them on screen. So what we do need for that is an actual way to capture this. Now we're not going to create state management, an advanced state management for this app. We're just going to use the built-in one, which is set state, and create an object that can kind of cache that state. It's not the most effective way, but like I mentioned, this is just so while I need just a quick distraction, I can just draw a little Among Us guy or a little ghost or something like that. So we really don't need anything advanced for that. So yeah, to add that, we're gonna create an object. So we can actually cache this. So we're gonna need a few properties within this. So yeah, we're gonna need a we'll call it class drawing points, which is pretty much as you assume it's the points we'll be drawing at. We'll then close this up. Let's create the class. It's gonna have two items. The first one. Oh wait, let's just before we add the first one, it's only gonna take an offset. So we're gonna call it offset point. It's the only parameter this class takes, and let's just create drawing points. It does require. Let's just make it named so it's easier. Required this dot point. There we go. So now we have an object that kind of captures our drawing offset point, which is the stuff we've been printing at the bottom here. So only thing we need to do is within our on start, we'll add it. Oh, we probably need somewhere to add it. So first thing we'll do is we'll create a list of drawing points. This will be the points on the screen that we are drawing. We'll call it points, and it's going to be equal to an empty list for now. So then we're just going to call points. We're going to call add. We're going to create a new drawing points object, and it's looking for points, so we just say details.global position. There we go. We'll do exactly the same for the on-pan update. So just because we have duplicate code here, I think a good practice would be to add another void function. We'll call it add point. Well, it would accept a parameter as which would be an offset, so it's going to accept an offset as a parameter. Offset, let's call it position. What it's going to do is going to pretty much do this. It's going to make a lot more sense why we're doing this a bit later. So as soon as we start adding some improvements to the app, this is going to make a lot more sense as to why we're putting it out into a function. So yeah, same thing. We're just going to take add point. We're going to add the details dot global position. I'm going to comment that out. And we're going to use exactly the same. We do not necessarily need one for on-pan end now, but we will in future, but we will get to that. I think it's fine if we remove these two print statements. Yeah, so let's just save the app, just make like a random line on the screen. Nothing's happened because we don't do anything with it. So I think it's a good idea for us to actually start painting on the screen. So yeah, the word paint kind of gives it away. We're going to use something called a custom paint within Flutter. So our gesture detector over here, we're going to give a child, because we want our custom paint to be behind our gesture detector. The widget's name is custom paint, as you would expect. It takes a child and it takes a few other parameters. Let me just accidentally added the child. So yeah, the first thing we'll need to add is a size. We want it to be the maximum size of the available screen, so we can draw anywhere. We don't want to be limited to a little box at the bottom. We'll go size.infinite, so we want to expand across the screen. And then we need to add another parameter called painter. So this is actually what we need. We need a custom painter, which is a class we need to create. We can assign to this specific point over here. So at the bottom, we'll just create a class. We'll call it my painter. My painter. This extends custom painter. Custom painter. And there we go. It does have a few required parameters. We can just quickly import those. There you go. It's got paint and should repaint. Quick explanation of what both of these are. Paint is the actual object that goes on the screen. So the actual path that's going to be painted on the screen is going to be under paint. And should repaint is going to be a check to see if the actual screen needs to update. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to say this should always return true. We always want to update our screen no matter what's been passed. Again, it's not the most efficient way, but it's just going to be something for fun. We're not necessarily going to use it. So within our painter, we do have the required, we need to add it over here. So I'm just going to say my painter object, and as you can see, we've satisfied all our requirements. App built, app refreshed, but again, nothing happens while we're painting. So we kind of need a way to get this list of points we've been drawing on the screen the whole time, to kind of pass that into our painter and let that build something for us. So we're going to copy this, because this is going to be exactly what we're going to use as a parameter for our painter. I'm going to add it here, just give it a semicolon so we know it's at the end. We do need to, however, add this as a he wants to add it as a late. We're not going to do that. We're going to add it in the constructor. We're going to make it required. This dot points. There we go. We're going to semicolon that. That should be fine. As you can see, we've got a complaint here. We'll just say points. There we go. So we've assigned points, the pointer value within our painter. Alright, so what we need to do now is kind of match all these points to a line within our screen, because technically we've been drawing a bunch of lines within our displays here. So what I think we should do is, seeing that this is a list, let's loop through that. So we can say there's a shortcut in Flutter where you can say iter. Oh wait, that's the wrong IDE. So we can say for in. So we can say for in point within points. So for each point within points, we're going to draw a line. So within paint we have this canvas object, which is pretty much the screen that it uses to paint. We can say canvas dot draw line, because we've been drawing lines, and all pictures technically are lines. So we can say point, but here we have our first catch to this object. So we're referencing point, but we need a point for it to draw to, meaning that we need 2 points between each other. So this kind of for each loop won't work. We'll need an old-fashioned for loop for us to actually be able to complete this task. So let's just add those. For, as you can see, old-fashioned. Just gonna cut this out and paste that in there. There we go. For now, however, we need a way to actually reference this point again. So we're just gonna have to assign, get item I within the list, and we will be looking for its point, which for some other reason is not. Oh, it's going to be points, and we're looking for point. There we go. So we're looking for, within this drawing options, the current point. We also need a way to find the following one. So it's going to be point. You need to find the one next to it, so +1. So the next point, that point. And now again we have something we've not touched, which is paint. So this is actually what will be put down between these 2 points. So we can create a new paint object over here. It's got a few, let's extract it just for some, to keep it neat. We'll create a variable, we'll call it paint equals paint. And let's just assign paint in here. It's got a few properties we can change, so let's say double, just so we can actually change those specific properties without referencing paint the whole time. We can say color equals, let's just make our default color black for now. So colors dot black. It's going to, we're going to have to give it a stroke width because we want to know how thick the actual line needs to be. So stroke width should be, it's going to be a double, so let's just assign 3.0 to it. I think that should be fine. And then also we need to assign a end cap. I think that's going to stroke gap, which is pretty much just the end of the line. That's going to be but, because we're on iPhone, so we just want a little round thingy at the end of each line. Lastly, we have count. So for this, we just use the points dot length for each point. However, it's going to return, let's say for instance 10, but as you guys know in programming, you always start counting at 0, which means that the moment it's going to reference 10, it should, no, that should actually be fine, because we have a less than and not equals. So yeah, that should be fine. Let's just save, see what happens, and as you can see, the lines I've been drawing the whole time has actually appeared on screen. I'll draw another line, but it's broken for some reason. Why is that? So let's quickly look at the error and see what we have. As you can see, range error, there's something we're referencing that's not in the range, which I do assume is this. Let's just remove 1 from this item. Save that. As you can see, our new items has been added. Let's draw and see if it updates. It doesn't. Click all set state, it actually adds. So yeah, what I actually missed was this. On add point, we're never updating our state, meaning it gets added into our list, but we never update the screen. So only when I refresh the actual display is when we actually see our drawing. So let's just add this into a set state object. There you go. And let's just copy this over into this item over here. There you go. If I save now, and so in theory, if I draw, there we go. We've been added. We're adding our stuff. But as you can see, the moment I lift up my finger and press it down again, it creates a line to our new point. And we don't necessarily want that. We don't want all our drawings to be like within one continuous line. So I'm just going to restart the app so we get a clean canvas again, and actually figure out how we will be able to stop that from happening. So yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is our on pan end. We want to kind of tell our points to be like, listen, this is the last one, this should be a gap. We don't want anything to be drawn between these 2 points. So a good idea would to probably add a point, but make it null, for instance. That's gonna cause problems because we can't add null to our list because it is non-nullable. So as you can see, while trying to add null, we won't be able to do that, but we can just add our handy question mark over there, and now we should be able to add null values. However, it's complaining that this list should have nullable values as well, and we've added it there. Now, however, we have when our line is trying to draw it, this value might still be null, meaning that point does not exist, could not exist. So just for quick purpose, let's just do the following. We're going to add a check to see if the current line is null. So we're going to say if. So we want to check if the current one or the next one is going to be null. If it's not, we want to draw that line. So if, let's just, for simplicity's sake, we'll create a new variable. We'll call it current point. We'll assign points.I to it. There we go. Now this is going to be a nullable variable, so we can say to use the next one plus 1 because we want the next one. Plus 1, and we'll call it next point. So we can say if current point is not equal to null and the next point is not equal to null, we want to draw our points. Cut that. I see I've made a mistake over there, but we'll fix that now. We'll say current point dot point next point dot point, and as you can see, Flutter realizes that we're adding a null check there, thus it's not complaining about our points over here. So this just needs to be within that. Right, so if I save, everything should work fine. If I draw, I stop drawing, we've got an error. The type null is not a subtype of points drawing. I think I just need to refresh or restart. Let's see if it works now. There we go. It stopped drawing. We'll add someplace else, and as you can see, we can draw multiple lines now. So in theory, if I clear my canvas, I should be able to draw a very, very, very crude version of our little Among Us character. Alright, it's going. I'm drawing this with a mouse, so it's not the best work. We'll add some details to it. There we go. As you can see, we can finally draw a little Among Us character. But yeah, we've still got a couple of minutes, so let's see if we can actually add some spice to it. I think the first thing we want to do is add color. So yeah, why not add some color? So we can actually give each and every line within this its own paint. So I'm gonna take this paint object, cut it out, add it within our drawing points. We'll just for now create a parameter, call it paint, and assign this paint we've created to it. Just add a comma there. Our drawing paints does not have a paints parameter, so we'll just need to add that paint. We'll call it paint, and again we can just make it required this dot paint, and there we go. See, it's complaining a bit. My painter, I've added it in the incorrect position, my mistake. Let's just cut this because we will reuse that. It's going to be in our drawing points object. There we go. Paint. Again, this is going to be required this dot paint. There we go. So we've got that. Let's just make this a bit neater. There we go. Required. There we go. So yeah. Now we have a paint parameter. We do not have anything assigned to paint. But as you know, if we use, we can cut out paint and just say within this object, we can just say our current point dot paint. So we use the paint assigned to that current point. For now, it's just going to be a little. I just need to restart because we don't have any paint objects assigned to our previous drawing. So let's just draw. See, nothing's changed. But we want to be able to actually change the color within this item. So let's scroll up and add color on the top. We're going to use again set state to change everything. We'll just call it stroke color. We'll just default it to black because that's going to be our default color. We can just assign our stroke color over here, stroke color. If we save and refresh, we've made it red. Why is that? Oh, I've accidentally assigned it to red. But yeah, as you can see, it does work. It does change the color. We can swap it out blue, for instance. Let's make it something fun. Let's say green. Let's wait for it to refresh. It's not refreshing. I don't think we've updated the state correctly. Let's see. Okay, there we go. It's green. But yeah, I mean, refreshing the app or restarting the app to change the color of a pencil is not ideal. We'll need an actual button that could do that for us. So yeah, I think the first thing we need to do is create a color input. I'm going to use a let's call it we're going to use a floating action button for that. Or just assign everything to the floating action button. My floating action buttons are going to be a row. So wherever the floating action button is on screen, we're going to have it as a row. It's going to have children, and our children are going to be floating action buttons. Floating action buttons. So for instance, if I refresh this now, just have to close that one pressed, it's going to add a floating action button to the left there. We can make it a bit neater by saying main axis alignment space evenly. So it should go to the center now, and there we go. We've got our first floating action button. We're going to keep it. Let's swap out the color. So we're going to assign it the color. When you press it, it's going to assign that color to our let's just look and see what's the actual background color. Alright, color dot, let's call it red. We'll have a red. I think we need to change it to it's going to be colors dot red, sorry. If I save it now, it's going to be red. Add a comma over here, right? And then when it's pressed, it's going to set state. It's going to make stroke color. It's going to assign to colors dot red. There we go. So if I draw now, it's going to be green. If I press the button, it should swap over to red. But we can only swap over to red now. So let's add 3 or 4 more buttons. I'll just copy everything over. Again, if this was a production level app, we would move it to the widgets. But we're not going to do that because we're super lazy. We'll call it green. Make the color changes to green. We add blue. Let's just swap it to black. We just want to swap it to actually use the black color. And let's just add, for the sake of those RGB fans out there, let's just swap it to add a blue one as well. Blue and blue. There we go. So there we go. We've got our color palette. If I select blue, we can draw in blue. If I select black, we draw in black. If I select green, properly select green, green is selected. If I select red, red is selected. So yeah, that's kind of the basic of our color palette. We can actually, we kind of need a way to indicate which item is selected. So let's quickly see if there's a way for us to either disable it or give it a border or something like that to indicate that it has been currently selected. I don't see something obvious we can use. Let's use. I'm trying to think of something we can possibly put in as a way for us to indicate. Let's give it a icon if it's been selected. So let's say child. So it will have the child of an icon if it's selected. So let's, for instance, say this one's color is blue. So let's say if stroke color equals colors dot blue, right? We'll add, if it is blue, we want to return an icon, and the icon is going to be a little cross. So let's see if we can get, I think it should be close. Yes, there we go. If it's not, we just want to return a container. There we go. So if I save now and select blue, it's going to make a little mark that says currently blue has been selected. Again, not the neatest thing. I mean, we're just like going a bit, having a bit of fun now. But for a production level app, you would spend some more time getting an actual design in. I would suggest, again, extracting these into a bunch of smaller widgets to actually like assign, like have it, just pass it a color and an object, and then it should build from there. So let's save. Let's see, if I draw blue, I draw blue. If I select red, do I draw red? Yes. If I select green, let's draw green. We draw black, we draw black. Alright, so yeah, I think that's pretty cool. We can switch between our basic colors. For future stuff, you might want to add like an entire color palette. You might want to add like a button that brings up a color wheel, and you can select your own custom colors. But I feel for now this is more than enough for that we need. We do, however, something that I want added is a way for us to actually adjust our stroke width. We do have the option of changing our stroke width. As you can see, we do set it to 3, so we can actually move this up. Create a double. We'll create an object, a parameter, a variable called stroke. If I could just remember how to spell stroke width, we'll assign it a default value of 3.0. So what I think we should do is maybe add a bottom bar with a little slider in. That will actually be our stroke width slider. Again, so bottom nav bar, we're going to create a safe area, because we don't want our stuff to be like overflowing beneath the iOS menu switcher. So safe area, it's going to have a child of a swipe. Is it a swiper? Or is it? Oh, it's a slider. Sorry, slider. So the slider has a few items. It's got value, which is going to be stroke width. It's got a minimum value, which we want to be 0.1. Or maybe let's just keep it 1. We've got a max, a size we don't want to be bigger than. We can say 5. We don't want it too thick. And then we've got an unchanged, which returns value. And then again, we'll just call set state. We'll take our stroke width and assign that to value. There we go. So if I refresh now, we've added this massive slider. Let's just quickly thinking why it's this big, but I think, yeah, it's like assigned to the entire screen. Let's see if we have a size option in that. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. We can just wrap it in a container then. Let's just say on a Mac it's command period, command enter, I think, or was it options period? Oh, it's command period, so I was pressing control. We'll wrap it in a container. We'll give the container a set height of, let's say, for instance, 40, and I believe that should solve all our problems. Yes, there we go. So yeah, we've got our blue line. We can make a line. We can make it super thick, and did nothing. Why not? Did we assign it stroke width? I don't think we've assigned it to this item at the bottom. Where is it? Oh yeah, we've not assigned it. So let's just say stroke width. If we save now, and if we draw, we should draw a thick line. There we go. We've got like a thick line there. Green. Got like a thick green line. Like a thick red line. And there we go. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. I think just for sanity's sake, we'll add an app bar, just so a way we can actually clear um, our app bar. I'm going to add actions in there. It's going to be an icon button. On pressed, what we want to happen is that point. We want to again say state set state. I think we just need to fix this so we can get that autocomplete back. Icons dot, let's say close again. We get our set state in here, set state, and then what we want to do is points should be equal to an empty array. We want to clear all our points on the screen. So if we save and refresh, press that, that should close everything. We do have a bit of an offset. As you can see, I'm drawing there, but it's a bit below. But that's because we actually set it here on global position, where it should be local position. So if I save now, run again, there we go. It's been fixed. Clear, make it red, draw a little something, clear. So now let's see if we can quickly draw in our limited time 3 small. That one's got a massive head. 3 small Among Us guys. This one's a bit weird. Let's make the stroke a bit thinner so we can actually add in our little shading details. There we go. We'll add one for the green as well. Its visor. So this was turning out a bit bigger than I expected. Its head, its leg, little line. There we go. It's got its backpack. We'll make it a bit thinner so we can actually add its details. There we go, there we go. And lastly, we'll add a little blue one as well, just so you can see how it would work. There we go. Let's add its bit details. There we right, little there and there. Yeah, so as you can see, basic, very basic. We've got our stuff. Some more stuff, like I mentioned, we would want to add is a little color wheel. We would possibly like to add a way for us to erase, like add an eraser. That would be super simple. Just change the input thing to a big, like slide this one all the way there and make the input white. Then you should be able to erase. So yeah, it's fairly simple. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to share with you today. I think I've satisfied my Among Us drawings, my need to draw Among Us money keys. So yeah, I think we're happy. This app is a kind of a little precursor to something else we're working on. It's a bit of an IoT project which we're super excited for. But yeah, stay tuned for that one. It should be out within the next couple of months. If you're watching this in the far future, we will link it down below as a kind of a follow-up to this video. But yeah, again, thank you very much for joining us today. We really enjoy these videos, and it's something we really love doing. So yeah, if you have any comments or feedback, please feel welcome to place it below. We do answer your questions. And yeah, that's everything from us. Goodbye.